Hello everyone, we're live. It's the Dead Air podcast, live on location. About a year since we did the original.
It's real.
It is, yeah. It's not a green screen.
Yeah.
About a year, nearly. I think we're like a month off from. No, actually, it would have been a year to the day.
Yeah.
Of what was Patch Notice on the Road.
Yeah.
That was the precursor to the Dead Air podcast, or ran alongside it, and then we adapted things. If I remember right,
It was patch notice on the road, meant to be like just a patch notice to go over it together, which was cool.
Yeah.
Because obviously we didn't have the technology back then, but Jacky has the technology now. So patch notice should be out at some point.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
In between everything else.
It's a difficult one, but check this out. We're currently using my laptop as a stand for a camera. We figured out that there is a small gap in the laptop that we can force the camera into. Pretty ingenious. But this is a nice laptop, which is going to be used for patch notice. But right now it's a simple teleprompter. We've actually scripted the whole podcast.
Yeah, none of it is ad-libbed. Funny story, that's actually how every Dead Air podcast has ever been. Even with guests, we tell them exactly what they're allowed to say, which some people
Even
will
that
probably
laugh.
now believe.
Even that laugh was scripted.
It says blank,
Laugh
please.
now.
Yeah, and then stop, and then talk about the laugh, and then all this obviously is in the script as well. But yeah, we're here. We're live in person. Myself and Blank are away. We're at an esports event, so it's quite nice. We get to do another one of these in person.
Yeah.
Which is fun, and obviously perfect timing because we've just had a minor update, which, as those of you that are endemic to the Deadlock scene will know, means we've got an essay to get through.
But it has to be said, so we all don't go crazy thinking it's the major content patch, which is not out yet.
No.
But this is a lot of content been thrown into it. It's actually, it technically is content. New rejuv stuff going on, new mantling stuff. Melee got punched into oblivion, they got bonked big time.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. We can come into it straight off the bat. Like Blank said, if you're unfamiliar with obviously how the patch cycles kind of work, right, you dub it as either like a hot fix or a minor update, whatever the word is, depending on what comes out. But there's a lot. And I think this one substantially as well actually reads as a very good patch for the game. If you're disappointed with this, what are you doing? Like the amount of changes they put into this.
Put you in bucket for that.
Exactly, yeah. You're down there with Bebop, just rolling.
To be fair, I imagine this is probably going to be fixed at some point, but the dashes are a bit odd at the moment. I don't think that was the intention. That's likely going to be fixed probably soon. I don't think they'll even announce it. It'll just be thrown in.
Yeah.
I've seen some people having some very weird times on the dashes. The animations are off right now, but overall the change is good. I think it's a cool change. But it's been fun at the moment.
Yeah.
We've had a good time. We've had some gags, some goofs here and there. I really annoyed a captain on a flight, actually. I didn't think it was possible, but it was good.
So we don't really endorse this. I didn't realize.
I didn't know it was possible.
Yeah, I didn't know as a passenger on a plane you have this level of power.
It was a lot.
But I wouldn't recommend the average plane goer, traveller, to do it.
The outcome was every member of staff hated me.
Yeah. For context, me and Blank are at the back of the plane. It's me here, Blank in the middle, another fella on the right from Texas. I think he was. Yeah,
he was a nice guy.
Yeah, seemed like a nice dude. But obviously you get on the plane, and as they do, the captain comes over the tannoy. I'll be the captain. So he's there, and he's like,
Oh, hello. We're going to be taking off soon from...
and he's trying to go through his story. He's trying to tell us, obviously, we're going to be taking off in about 10 minutes. It should be a nice, clean flight path. He's just being interrupted by Blank.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was me doing it, but there's a small button that says crew call on/off. Now, obviously, in hindsight, that's probably quite clear that this is the I need help
call a member of crew.
I thought it meant that I didn't have to hear the captain in my earphones and I could just turn that announcement off. And by the time that I realised that, through my earphones, there is a boinging noise inside the cabin, I realise it's me. The captain has now said, "Yes, sir, we hear you," and even that was interrupted with a badoing. So I'd queued up so many of these badoings that it carried on for another 2 minutes.
It was an
gave up.
excruciatingly long period of time, to the point where he legitimately did fumble the entire opening speech. And I'm sat there, I'm going, I can't even hear the captain. The microphone's terrible. What's he even saying? It's just bongs, just and Blank's obviously gone.
Yeah. But that's like a general thing that a lot of people do. Is like if it don't work the first time, you press it 100 more times.
Yeah. But the great climax to this obviously is as well, we realise, oh no.
Yeah, that's me.
That's us. And we're at the back of the plane, trapped by all the stuff.
Yeah.
So we quickly pivoted where Blank just went, oh, just say I needed headphones.
I need new headphones, yeah. And the guy came across and went, did you need these, sir?
It was more aggressive. It was, do you need headphones?
Yeah. Then just
he didn't throw them, but funnier if he did.
They were handed aggressively.
Yeah. There you are. There's your headphones.
So that's how I ruined a whole flight and pretty much traumatized the captain.
Yeah.
I felt bad about it, obviously.
He was so frazzled by the end when he went to announce where we were landing. He just said the wrong country and then panicked and said, oh, sorry. I didn't mean to say that. So yeah, that was good.
It was an incredible experience. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
Only made my whole flight very awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was attacked by a child for about 9 hours straight on this flight, sprinting up and down the halls. It was something. But we made it, and we're here, and work's going well. But obviously, this is what we were really interested in doing. So we've found time to do the hotel setup again. Actually, weirdly, very similar to last time. It was the same idea. We had the ironing board for the camera.
Yeah.
It's just a bit more elaborate.
It is a bit more like last time. I think we just balanced it against a book or something.
Yeah.
But we're like better at this.
I think it was the iron. I think I used the ironing board as a stand and the iron for the camera.
We've got more ideas now how to make this work. We've even used the tension from a charging cable to make sure it doesn't go anywhere.
It's like the most high-tech, low-tech setup because there's a camera on top of a laptop with a Steam Deck weighing the camera.
It's Valve approved.
Yeah.
Okay, it's Valve approved.
Which is kind of bad. Also, last time we shared a phone to go through the patch notes.
We have another laptop.
We actually
now.
have a second laptop, and this one is on.
Yeah.
So
Dead has been doing really well.
Yeah. As you can see, we've got the merch and 2 laptops and a Steam Deck. So something's happening. Must be working
Yeah,
out.
basically we both remembered to bring laptops this time.
Yeah, we actually packed rather than winging it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there you go. Now you know. You got the context, little flight story to set you up. For the one guy on Reddit who's immediately gone, wow, they're not talking about the patch. We're going to.
Yeah.
There's just a lot to get through. Again, obviously, prefacing this one, I actually think this is great optics for the future of the game. Some changes I think we have differing opinions on when we kind of chatted about it. We played a couple games, got a feel for it. But that's good. I think it's better when both of us sort of agree on everything.
Ping's not too bad.
No, it's been all right. We've been bouncing around different servers, so you're getting a feel for the different regions of Deadlock, which actually is quite funny because the last time we did that, obviously, we were just at the cusp of set server times.
Yeah.
When we were doing like EU, NA, Asia, which now you can just kind of connect all the time, which is still funny to think about.
Yeah, it was a weird time in the past. I mean, it was cool talking with Deathy, and he was like last time he was talking about how there was NA times.
Yeah,
and then we're sat there like, we know.
We definitely know.
We were pretend Americans for a while.
Oh, yeah. We used to do it where you'd load in, and obviously you didn't want to be sniffed out as a Brit on the NA servers. So, you know, you'd join in. Yeah, you'd do different accents, and it'd be like, I'm from Missouri. I'm coming to Yellow Lane.
Yeah, we remembered it's quite a good way of doing it. Is that if you want to pretend to be American, you just got to say that you're from a vague area in America.
Yeah.
And that's how they usually introduce it. So,
yeah. That's what they go for.
Yeah.
But there you go.
Probably quite a lot of American audience as well. We're probably
I'd imagine.
just not hitting the mark with
No,
that
they're
at
probably
all.
just like, what are they on about?
What are you
I'm
talking
from
about?
Missouri. We don't sound like that.
Yeah, but you could be from anywhere.
Yeah.
For us, we'd say specific town in the. It's quite a small place in the UK.
Well,
But you're not in there.
Major
anymore,
cities. I'm not even from England now. I've
you are.
revoked.
You
England.
originated.
I was born there.
Yeah.
But
not there.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately for our viewers in England, you will have to submit your ID to watch the rest of the podcast.
Bro, yes, I know. I'm gonna have to submit my ID to even get this podcast approved.
Yeah, I think so. So the Deadlock ID approval, Yoshi said, is coming for Brits next week. So be ready for that.
They're gonna add Pocket, and Pocket. They're going to open their mouth and close their mouth, and then I'll be in. So thank you, Pocket. Appreciate that.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. But we can talk about the patch. We'll start you off. Obviously, the big one at the top of the docket, mid-boss, rejuve. I think for what? How long has it been since we've had conversations about this of like trying to adjust rejuve?
Yeah.
Different ways you could do it.
Yeah, I mean, like, sorry, that was an aggressive.
Hey. All right.
Hey.
Yeah.
My turn.
Okay. Go on.
No, I was sorry.
That's all right.
I apologise.
We're in person, you see,
Yeah.
so we bounce off each other.
I like to battle him now and again, actually.
It's a bit of a power struggle.
No, I was just going to say that we've had those conversations a lot, but what I want to say was just that this is a cool patch in the sense that although there may be some things in here that you don't enjoy personally, I mean, I personally quite like a lot of things in here. There are some stuff that I think could be changed. They're touching things now that they have never addressed in the past.
Yeah.
There are things in this patch where it's something that I feel like Valve's been very... some of the stuff that their baby, like they don't want to change it because it's always how they've envisioned it. I'm glad now we're changing things and having a bit more of a play around really with the patch, which is nice. It's nice.
Well, yeah, and I think
it's a weird time to be doing it, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I suppose you've had a year of open access to the community. Obviously, it's a bit more than that when you then factor in like before things went live in August, but we were all allowed to start talking about the game. Obviously, for those of you that have been around since the very beginning, you've probably been watching the Dead Air videos from when we were a private channel with like 2,000 subs, with no listed videos. It was all word of mouth through the Discord, through the forums, which if you are from that period, shout out to you. Thanks for sticking with us. I hope you're still enjoying the game. But yeah, it's interesting that now's the time they've decided to do it. And obviously these are massive parts of the game. Rejuvenator and everything that surrounds that, I think, even for the more wide audience that have seen a bit of Deadlock, that seems to be what they know. They know about rejuve, they know about the steals, because I think that catches attention. It gets clipped a lot, obviously, from the esports stuff that you've probably seen us do. That's like a pinnacle moment.
It's funny for me, who is a bit of a clip warrior right now.
Always watching the highlights on his phone.
I am, yeah. I mean, shout out Deadlock High. Like, I'm on your channel a lot. I'm on your channel a lot. Thank you. And all the other clip channels, because I do flip between them so much that I will start watching reruns of clips across multiple channels. Like, I've seen that. And I skip it, then I realise that maybe that's a me problem. But yeah, so it is cool to see. And I mean, for... the clips that are coming out now, though, as opposed to maybe a couple of days ago, there is not as... Because it did annoy me sometimes where I'd be watching clips and I'd be like, oh, that's a rejuve steal. Oh, it's another rejuve steal. That's another rejuve steal.
There's the fifth one of the day.
Yeah, and I'm like, I want to see some more gameplay. Yeah. But now that it's a lot less rejuve steal, more like just rejuve fights in the pit, which is very fun to see. And I get why they have tried to change this. I'm still not sure how I feel about there being multiple rejuvenators, but it does take away, because I think this is where our opinions differed a little bit. And originally I was kind of, when I was looking, I was like, maybe one rejuve would be better. And we've had a discussion over the past couple of days whilst checking out this hotfix before we've had time to do this podcast. Just in the sense of, maybe multiple rejuvenators is good, because I don't like those moments in game where, yes, it is a mistake on your part, that someone drops in and they get the rejuve out of nowhere.
That's
suddenly
fair.
You've lost all of the rejuve benefits. It goes to the other team, and it's a massive swing. I think there are a lot of games that are lost like that, and this gives more opportunity for you to, you lose rejuvenator, but you're not getting hampered by the trooper buffs and all that. But you have to be absolutely ready to do rejuve. I've seen a lot of clips, in fact, where people have done rejuve in my games as well. In fact, we've done rejuve. We weren't prepared for it. There was still like 3 or 4 players up on the enemy team, and they've taken advantage of that. Come down, taken a rejuvenator, they get the buff, they come back to life, and you kind of lose out on a lot of the benefits from it.
Yeah, I mean it's weird as well because for an analogy, obviously you don't know what you had until it's gone in a weird way.
Yeah.
And obviously there was a couple games I was playing literally maybe I think it was about 3-4 hours before the patch sort of went, oh, there's a patch out of nowhere, like here it is, as it is being a Deadlock fan, it just come out of left field. And it's weird because those games we had back-to-back situations where I was able to do the classic, I'm walking in, I'm stealing your rejuve. But it's funny because now I think about it, weirdly, that was the last time, well, maybe, unless this ever changes, that I was able to do that. And, you kind of don't realize, like, oh, that's my last rejuve steal of that variety.
And now it's gone. It is crazy. Yeah, I think that it's kind of sad when you put it that way.
Yeah, because it's also in the same way where obviously we didn't know, like, oh, that's my last game before free lanes, because you don't know,
and then it comes out.
Yeah, that's the nature of like Deadlock, right? Like we just have these major changes. But to give context on how I think this has changed things, at least there, like you say, there is more room where it's not just one person rocks up, you've stolen the rejuve, people are gobsmacked. Yes, you shouldn't really be in that position. If it's a competitive game, it's going to be far harder, right? You're set up for it. You're making it at the right time for you. If someone steals it, that's impactful. Pub play is very different. I think this actually does make the game better as a baseline. I think it's definitely improved. And that will trickle up towards like the 1% players in years to come as well. Again, the other one was, I never really liked the trooper buff. That to me was an additional cherry on top that didn't feel necessary with how powerful rejuve already was, just on the nature of you have respawned, which that's a huge element of the game anyway. So I'm glad to see obviously that's gone.
Yeah, it's like it's one of those things where you had the 3 lanes all pushing all the time, and it became very, very difficult to handle. And I personally think that for a MOBA like this, you kind of need a buff for troopers if we ever get any more objectives in the future, which I would love, where you can decide that maybe I give this specific lane an advantage in terms of pushing.
Yes.
Like the bazooka troopers.
The siege troopers.
Like that'd be cool to spawn into a lane for a certain period of time, maybe a minute. It's like, you get together as a team, you call that position, we all group up, we push down. We have a slight advantage because we won an objective. It gives you that. But again, we have no idea. There's so many things that you can see in the files, but never gets added to the game or ever used. So we'll see if that's the case in future. But for me, this is nice. I think that the buff is generous. The buff you currently get, which is generous, if you haven't read it, it's plus 20% max HP, 20% fire rate, 15% spirit damage. And that is a generous amount of buffs, but you have to think about the fact that you're losing the trooper push, you're losing like the regeneration as well as the fire rate I think you've got as well from it. So there's a lot of things you miss out on. So the only thing that I would say, and I have heard it from multiple people, which is that the buff lasts too long. You do lose it upon death, right? But if you're in a position where you're far ahead and you have, I think it's 7 minutes. I believe it's 7 minutes. Yeah, up to 7 minutes. That's towards late game. So it starts off a little bit less. But 7 minutes and you're ahead. You're not dying, you're playing it safe. It is hard in that situation. So maybe that can be brought down, but we'll have to wait and see. It's very early. It's early doors.
That's the thing. You're looking at like 2 days, even depending on when we get this out, probably pretty soon. But you need more time with stuff like this. Again, I think the pros massively outweigh the cons in the sense that this could open up far more avenues to show that Valve are willing to play around with Rejuvenator in general, which obviously for the most part, the only thing we've really had change is drop time on the actual rejuve coming down.
I've been complaining about it for a while as well, but yeah.
Yeah. And
complaining is probably the wrong word. Feedback.
Yeah, saying like you could do this differently. It's not a bad change. I think that's the other thing. Again, it's one of those where like our opinions differ slightly on it, but I think with time, all of us will get more experience playing with it. I think it could be far better than what we had with the old rejuve, and it is just a good optic of like not everything is set in stone. Some things in Deadlock felt like they were kind of, like you say, never really being played with. They were being left alone whilst everything else changed around it. The fact that we've got this already goes to show, like, Valve are still very open to trying many different ideas for core mechanics of the game.
Yeah.
Multi-rejuve, that is a big one. It's probably going to catch an awful lot of people off guard immediately. That first mid-boss kill, if you haven't read the patch notes going into that, you're going to be like, whoa.
What is this? Even the crystals are slightly different. They got wings on them, which is cool. But there is the other change as well, which is that it starts at 12,500 HP, and growth is reduced from 470 to 200. So it's going to start with a lot more HP, but only gradually get stronger in that sense. I quite like that change. That it's still spawning quite early into the game, right? But you do have this sense of, I quite like the sense of doing mid boss that early is impractical. Right? It can still be pulled off, and I'd like there to be, I quite like a meta of these niche changes where it's a case of if you have a certain team comp and you're ahead, perhaps you can band together and play off the back of one another and take a mid boss early. But it's still hard because you have to invest a lot more time now. It's effectively that change, you're making it take twice as long to do mid boss on its initial spawn. So yeah, we'll see that happen. Because there was a lot of times where a team would go missing for 15 seconds. You'd hear the roar and be like, oh my, we need to get there now. It's like they've instantly started. So you could sneak a lot of mid-bosses. Not so much anymore because I imagine by the 25-second mark, you can't see anyone on the map. It's like someone probably should check mid-room, right? Make sure there's no one in there.
Yeah. And I think, again, as well, the writing was on the wall for some of this where you made the drop time quicker, obviously, as well, with the way the map's now designed, with the 3-lane version. You've got easier time to spot it with, like, the panels. You can look down. Like, there was a lot of things that sort of, you could see Valve working towards the idea they still wanted to make mid-boss fights competitive and give you these options, which changed a lot when we went to 3 lanes from how it used to be, because it was so quick to get there, and you could always sort of dogpile on.
Yeah.
We were always saying, like, it felt a bit harder, especially if lanes were pushed, to actually get back there and contest towards mid. I think with this, even if you miss kind of the initial window, obviously there is that sort of variance of the drop locations for the free rejuves, the chance that everyone has to punch. You can't just say, you punch, I'll parry, I'll stay here. It's more, the whole team has to be proactive. Well, half the team at least, which is vastly more than it used to be.
Yeah.
I think the player agency is better, which is one thing that it's definitely achieved massively, is you're going to notice more of that, where everyone kind of has a role in Deadlock, which I think sort of, that's innate to the game. It feels like everyone can always be doing something, and now you've just tied that into mid-boss. It's not just the one-to-one, like, you've killed Roshan. Oh, there you go. It is its own flavour.
Even if it's the case you get 3 out of the 4 when we're getting towards that late game, it's still good for your team. You get the full max heal as well during the fight, so that's going to get you back into it. I think the idea is that if you're committing to mid-boss, you better be sure you can take it, and fully commit in that sense, where you can't really be doing mid-boss if they've got 4 players up and you're 5 or you're 6. There's still a chance that they'll come in and pick up 1 or 2, and then you lose out entirely on the buff because they're stealing away from you. So yeah, there's that involved as well. So I like it. I also, what was I going to say about this? Because I think the big one was, dying with it. There's still a chance to fight teams that have rejuve, which is nice. Not only that, is that you don't get the not half, but massively reduced respawn duration, which is now shortening games by a lot. And I think it will shock players. It's one of the first things I noticed where, we're towards the late game, we've wiped them once, there was no opportunity of them having that rejuvenator buff, so the game now ends.
Yeah.
Because even if we take the patron, they're only getting their spawn time reduced by 15, 20 seconds, right? And that still gives you 40 seconds to assault the base. So games are just ending now.
Yeah. I think that's the other thing as well. The other 2 bits that this has had a knock-on effect on is, like, if you were in a situation where I've done it before, like even in literally those last few games, I didn't realize were the last times you'd be taking mid-boss in that nature. It's playing McGuinness, and it's like me and my army of turrets. I'm just like, well, I'll just solo the mid-boss.
Yeah.
And I'll get this for the entire team. You guys keep pushing, take stage 1, patron.
Yeah.
Instead now, there's no benefit because people could come in, steal those away. It's not like you can go, well, I'll just take all the rejuves as a solo. that would have been ridiculous. So they've actually done a great job there where, again, it's like it forces more of the team to actually be present because even if you do take it as a solo, to what benefit? Now you run the risk of there's 2 buffs sat there. Someone could just sneak in and grab if they're quicker than your team. They're near this jungle camp. Whoop, that's mine.
Or even 3 when you get to the subsequent ones, which is even worse because that likely is what's going to be happening beyond the 4 crystals that drop if you towards that late game. So yeah, you're giving up 3 of them. I think that's a good point in the sense that this is a team objective now.
Yeah.
This is not a Haze or a Wraith objective going down and soloing it because there's not really that much benefit. There obviously is a benefit of getting 1 crystal, but you give up the fact that potentially someone from the enemy team does. So it comes down and takes them. So yeah, it's very much, I think the way they're angling it is it's a group objective. You should do it when you're confident you're ahead or the enemy team's wiped.
Yeah. And then I think the other one to that is the fact that obviously, if anything, just the way that you actually respawn now is better. It's less akin to obviously like, oh, you died, but you have a shorter spawn time. Yeah. It is far more, it's soul rebirth, basically. For anyone that doesn't remember how that works, obviously that delayed period of time, spawn back where you were, keep the fight going, which I think actually makes some fights more interesting and does allow for sort of potentially mid-boss pit brawls. Where you could have big team fights where even if they steal 2, you steal 2, it's still going. You're tagging in for round 2, you keep the deadlock deathmatch going.
That's right. Absolutely. It's a little bit of
sign up, by the way, August 8th.
Yeah, August 8th. Open qualifiers. It's going to be fun. It'll be very, very fun. There's that case of just a fun experience in terms of the mid-boss, in terms of fights. A lot of people are, like you say, saying, goodbye, Soul Rebirth, welcome back, rejuve. Yeah. The difference is, though, is that I like that where Rejuvenator is no longer a case of we can just have constant pressure on you guys the entire time. It's more geared around, we should take a team fight. We have advantage here. Yeah, we might lose it, but technically we've got 3 or 4 more lives than they do, so we should be winning those fights. So it incentivizes you to be trying to look for those team fights, trying to push those lanes, as opposed to just having massive map presence, removing everything on the map. Because that was very unfun where a team of rejuve, always the saying was, we have to play base now because they've got rejuve. We have to play base. That wasn't fun for anyone, sitting in base for 5 to 6 minutes waiting for their rejuve to run out. And them having all of your jungle. It was a painful way for a game to end because it was somewhat slow in which it caused your eventual demise. This way, it's more a case of they have rejuve, they're stronger than us, they're probably going to end the game, and that's our bad, and maybe we could have played the game better. But I'm happy with that. I'm happier losing like that. I'm also happier if we get a sick comeback in that fight. We're able to take them down and stagger the kills out enough that we're able to manage to regroup and reaggress against the team that has rejuve and then go on to win the game off the back of that. There is chances for it now, which is very cool. But I would say that's enough about rejuve. We've talked so much about it there. But those are most of our thoughts about it. I think it's a cool change. I think there's some things that maybe need to be tweaked or adjusted. I'm still not 100% feeling this 3 rejuve and 4 rejuve thing. I'm not sure how I feel about it. It is cool, and I think that it's a thing that I think I need more time to partner because I haven't played enough with it so far.
Yeah, that's the other bit. Obviously, we've got thousands of hours with that type of rejuve.
It's jarring for me.
We've got tens of hours with this. So we both do need more time, but as a general consensus, I think it's good optics for the future. It's a nice change. Yeah. There's more to be done. But obviously,
there's more good than bad in there.
Yeah, 100%. Build your own opinions on it. Get out there, get playing, get on the forums.
Let us know.
This is a prime time to be on the forums for this kind of stuff as well, where obviously there's a lot of big changes on this. We'll keep going through, but just to go back to the previous point there as well, if you didn't see, whilst you're still all tuned in, attentive in this first 20 minutes of the podcast, obviously we did announce Deadlock Deathmatch.
Yeah.
That's the tournament, that's the name. Deathmatch Challengers, Deathmatch Champions. For those of you that didn't understand through the 2 videos, effectively, open qualifier, 32 teams, top 4. You'll come back for a 3-week set, week 1, week 2, week 3. Play amongst yourself. It'll be like single elimination bracket. There's some gimmicks thrown in there with a tarot card system.
Yeah.
More to follow on that later, but there's a lot of cool ideas that we've been cooking up.
Hey, I do. Hey.
Hey,
doing it again.
we're throwing out these haze.
I know, man. I'm outrageous today. I did want to address a couple of things about that because I have seen some stuff about how it's going to be a popularity contest. And I guarantee it's not the case. I don't think we went into massive detail about it yet. But essentially, the way it works is that we're going to get together, and these tarot cards can only happen, I think, the maximum of once per series. So it's a case of, if they might happen, we draw them out. It's not like it's going to happen every single time and one team is just going to be better because of that. There's still opportunity to come back. So it's best of threes for most of it up until the final game. So it's a case of, during that best of three, only one might have a tarot card in there. And it could be a blessing. And these blessings aren't crazy.
No, that's the thing again. Remember, this is more of a fun additional element. These things aren't going to entirely win or lose a game.
Rejuve all game. That's not what we're doing.
And it's a time where obviously you, the viewer at home, get to have your say. And again, for the teams as well. The only thing that I can say with that is just play some entertaining, fun Deadlock.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way that'll work. But these aren't going to be earth-shattering, completely ruined competitive nature.
Yeah.
We've both been in esports for a very long time. We know the line of how far you can tow with something like this. And again,
just a little bit of something fun.
Wanted to throw something different out there.
Yeah.
Because obviously, you get very similar tournaments or in other games as well. A bracket is a bracket. This is just a different element where, hey, it's prime time, right? Obviously, Deadlock is still incredibly young.
Yeah.
Might as well try out these ideas now. But yeah, for the overall consensus, if you haven't signed up and you are interested, a lot of people have been on the Dead Air Discord.
Yeah, it's been amazing.
They're looking for teams. There's so many people that want to play. And I think this is a great time where Deadlock is a game that is truly at its best in that environment. Team-based, where you're calming, you're bouncing off each other.
Yeah.
It's something special. And this is an opportunity where, there isn't that many open qualifiers at the minute. Find a team. You could make some really good friends. Bond through Deadlock. You gain experience. You might play against a great team. You might play against someone more your skill level. The luck of the draw. But you'll learn and come away with something that will improve your own game.
There's been loads of people who've joined the Discord, and it was really pleasantly surprising, actually, and it made me quite happy, where they've joined the Discord, and we'll have a reshake around of things whilst we're sorting the roles out, etc. But there are people in there who have just come in and they're saying they're looking for teams, and people are just saying, join my team. We can play together, which is so nice that people have that confidence just to come in and basically set a team up. So it could be nice to have a little dedicated area for them. We'll think about that for the future. But it's really, really pleasing. So if you have joined the Discord, thank you so much. And I hope you do find some teams to play around with, because that's what we want. We just want the community to get involved with the competitive side of things on a dedicated hub as well, and face it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the other element of it, of course. So remember the key three things. August 8th, that is going to be the start date for Deadlock Deathmatch Challenges. 32 teams. So obviously spots are limited. They're going to start filling up. Already we've got quite a few signups. So if you want to play, go down to the description. We'll link everything there. Face It Tournament, Dead Air Discord, grab a team, get in, enter the Coliseum, play. And then, of course, if you don't make it through, you get to enjoy watching, us each week, having that back and forth. We're going to be running the event. It's going to be fun. There's a lot more to see from it. So I think it's going to be very enjoyable. It's the Deadlock Deathmatch. If you haven't seen the other two videos, they're on the channel. Go and check it out. If it's not your cup of tea, you can always just watch.
Even if you don't make it all the way through the qualifiers to that top four, there's more we want to do with the Face It Hub as well for Dead Air. So stick around and find out that kind of stuff. That'll be coming further down the line. But it will just be a place for people who are interested, though. Thank you very much for all the interest overall. It's been nice. It's been amazing.
If, as well, for context with that, it's a $300 prize pool. But the other bit I've seen some people overlook, Face It points. And you're going to get Face It points no matter where you place. Obviously, you gain more the higher you finish. It's broken up into elements in the brackets. First, second, third,
We've got a lot to give out. So,
but yeah, 30,000 Face It points within that one qualifier. So even if you come 17th to 32nd, you still walk away with Face It points. So you earn just for playing. So thank you very much to Face It for that as well.
Absolutely. Let's get back onto the patch of all things, because we got through 5 lines.
One line.
Yeah.
One line. Well, yeah, 5 lines.
5 lines.
One change.
I think we're both not too happy with this one, I would say. Which is meleeing a mantling enemy no longer cancels their mantle. Instead, it applies an 80% movement slow that ramps down to 20% over 2 seconds. And adding a debuff that makes climbing ropes 40% slower for 4 seconds after you take a player damage. And the debuff only exists when you're on a rope, for context, and tapers off to 0% in the last 1 second of the damage window. I see where they're coming from, and there is a lot of people I've talked to who do not like the basically pseudo stun that you get when you're mantling. I don't know if this is one where I'm just stuck in the past here, but yeah.
That's the thing. Like, again, I'm sure some people will be like, Deadlock boomers. But weirdly, this was something that felt very natural when you sort of discovered it. Because again, Deadlock's game with no tutorial. It's things that you also found out word of mouth.
Yeah.
Very, very early on, you made this discovery of like, if someone's mantling, I can basically stun them off.
Yeah.
Ropes especially. And I'll be honest with you, I think I've been quite open about this before, but I think like ropes in general in Deadlock are one of the worst parts of movement. I think objectively, it's like ladders in Counter-Strike. They exist for a reason, for one sole purpose, but they're nowhere near as fun as any other element of movement. The one counterplay to that was punching someone off it. Same with mantling, having those kind of stuns and being able to use that. Having it redone this way, like you say, I see where they're coming from and why they've made that change. I'm sure some people didn't really even realize it was an element of the game, and they're like, why am I randomly getting stunned? I think I did prefer the old system. Again, this is a very core mechanic, even if you didn't realize it existed, that has been tweaked in a major way. I don't know. Again, I think I might need more time to play around with it in this system to decide whether or not objectively it's worse. But I do miss the old system just off reading the note and feeling it over the first couple games. I think the old system made more sense.
The only thing I will say is that I'm maybe leaning more towards meleeing a mantling enemy. No longer cancels their mantle. And I feel like I quite like that. And I think the 80% movement slow is pretty good, so you are still punished for it.
Yeah.
But I do think, trying to mantle over and over and getting it cancelled, there is counterplay, but sometimes that's the only way to get away. On the other hand, I think for ropes, it's such a gimmicky way to get out of dodge where you can just go up a rope, and this is only a small amount of a slow. I think that's the one thing where you're right, ropes aren't the most awesome way to get around, but they serve a strong purpose, but they needed counterplay, and I think this is not the way to do it. I think if you can get ahead of a player, get on a rope and go up, fair play to you. But if there's a player right next to you, they're fighting you, and you have a get out of jail free card on just going the rope. You slowed me, don't really care, to be honest. I'm going up the rope, and now gives me options in terms of high ground and where I can go from that height. I think the mantling one I'm okay with, and I'd like to play more with it. The rope one, on the other hand, I don't know. I think initial reaction is I don't like it.
Yeah, I agree. It's a bit of a weird one for me. Again, you've kind of changed quite a core element there in the way that I think things work. I think especially you notice it far more where it may be in public play as well for some players that haven't been using it in their repertoire. This might not bother you. You notice it more, especially if you watch some of the VODs, like sort of, pro team games, especially when we were doing One Win. You saw the real high skill intricacy of the way that you could use this in your skill set to absolutely get the most out of it. And it offered a lot of interesting fights.
It did.
And I think taking that away in the way you've rebalanced it here, I don't think it's better. That's the only element where I'm like, the rejuve one, again, you look at it and it's like, more good than bad. This one, I'm like, it's a blurred line.
I think if I was to change it, if I had full control,
if I was
in the
you're
system,
Yoshi.
if I'm,
you're Yoshi.
I don't think I could really ever take that kind of mantle.
But people will now be, blanks Yoshi.
No,
we're not.
No,
we're not associated with that.
No, he's a bit smarter than me, and that's an understatement. If I was to be in the control room, though, I think if I was to make a change, I would say keep the meleeing an enemy cancels the mantle, but give you immunity for 5 seconds after that happens.
Yeah, okay. Already I can see that making more sense, because at least then you have counterplay to it. It's not as if you're stun locked over and over again.
That was the worst part about it, was getting stun locked. But if it's the case I get knocked down, it gives more time for me to gives more time for my opponent to lay into me because they've outplayed me there. They've been able to get ahead and time that melee correctly. But after that, I can still mantle and start to walk away. It's like my bad if I'm mantling over tables and chairs and I keep getting punched because, well, that's my fault to continue to make the same mistake over again. But I think an immunity after getting my mantle cancelled would feel good because, I think the most frustrating part about it, for a lot of people, in fact, was just the stun lock.
Yeah.
The stun lock is the issue, right? Again, you could even implement that with ropes where it can happen once.
Yeah.
And then you have it, like maybe it's a case of you can't get on the rope for 2 seconds. That would be cool.
Yeah.
And then you have immunity for 5 seconds going up the rope. So it's never a time of like you are locking someone out of movement. It's just you are being punished for using movement recklessly in close quarters. I think in fact, that's going in the feedback.
Yeah, I would actually agree. I think that probably, just from workshopping that right now, that's probably kind of the better way I would have approached it. I think this one is more of a, you've changed it, but there were things I preferred about the original system that just need tweaking. It didn't need to be killed off. It didn't need to be drastically overhauled. This is one way to go about it. I don't think it's the way that I would have liked to have done it.
A lot of these things, because you brought up a good point there in the sense that a lot of these things would be solved with tutorial. The issue being is that there's so many unfinished ideas in Deadlock that tutorial is almost pointless right now because you don't have anything that is definitive. So it's a bit frustrating.
That's the thing, because the resource time of like, if Valve sit there and go, here is everything, you're going to be updating that every 2 weeks, every week, every month, whatever it is, right? Where, it's just going to be pointless in terms of dev time of like, we might as well just do a tutorial at the end.
Yeah.
And there you go. Obviously, a lot of it as well, it's similar to Counter-Strike, Dota. You learn these things through word of mouth and through experience in the game and getting better. Not everything is going to be sort of black and white, here's how this works. It could be, but in most of these games, it kind of isn't, where it's something you just have to learn, and then once you know to play around it. But yeah, there you go. That's mantling. I think that's kind of the consensus on that one.
We've done 3 lines more.
Mixed opinions, basically. It's kind of funny. This is like the old school podcast breakdowns where we'd be like 3 hours of us.
Oh my god!
Do you remember? And it'd be
like
like,
split this bad boy up. Part 1 and part
charge
2.
shot, slowing hex, fail walker.
Well, they were insane patches back
They were
then,
mad. They were mad.
But we're heading over towards meleeing now. And if you've been playing Deadlock at all, you know that melee is a little bit of a problem, has been becoming more of a problem, and you Shiv players who have been switching over towards melee are part of the problem. But yeah, they've made a big amount of adjustments. I think all the adjustments are fantastic changes for melee, because melee was becoming stronger and stronger, and at its heart, changing the values wasn't working. We needed a bit of a rework.
I think the thing is with this one as well, the beauty of Deadlock's gameplay loop is having that parry punch system. And I know there's still some new players that get in, even older players, that don't sort of see the full potential of parry punch. But it is iconic to the way Deadlock is played. And again, I think this is right on the money, where you've made drastic changes at quite a late point in. You've kept the system that's now becoming like more and more prevalent to how Deadlock's played, and everyone's sort of realizing, oh yeah, this is really important to the choreography of how I'm fighting in the game. I don't think there's anything wrong with any of these changes. I think the way you've implemented them is actually right on the nose for me.
The only one that I was a bit like sort of unsure was light melee damage was reduced by 20%. That's fine. That's actually great, because I think a lot of players and a lot of heroes were getting a lot of damage just off one quick light melee in the middle of a fight. Does quite a bit of damage, especially if you built into melee lifesteal and spirit snatch. The thing that I wasn't too sure about was this is except for Viscous, Calico, and Bebop. I know that these are all melee characters, but why is that not the case for Abrams?
Yeah. And that's the other thing as well, is I think the issue is there. You're spot on where it's in the sense of it's slipping these light melees in around the rotation of your other abilities or how you're playing Deadlock. And especially for kits like Calico, you can get in so many light melees intertwined within the actual use of a kit that it seems weird that you've kind of gone, oh, you can keep it.
You can keep
You're
it.
special.
You can stay. Yeah.
Which I don't love that. I think, again, that's one where maybe that needs more time under the microscope, more feedback from you, the community.
The only reason I can see for that is, and probably what the only valid reason is that viscous puddle punch scales off of melee, leaping slash scales off of light melee, as well as bebop's uppercut scaling off light melee. Obviously, viscous is, once it's full upgrade, and puddle punch will scale off heavy melee, but that's fine. Just adjust the values on the abilities.
That's what I was going to say. I think that's the thing where you could fix that, and then we don't need to have this. Yeah. Because, it can just be a different value, and probably should be. In reality, it can still scale in the same way and read in the same way, but just don't affect it with overall global changes like this. Because, again, I think those are... That's good. Bebop, viscous, not as much. Calico, you definitely can just slip them in intertwined. And obviously, that it compounds. Like, the damage from quick light melees like that... It's way more than you think.
It is a lot. And I'm sure in the future we'll have more heroes that have kits that scale off your light melee. And it's weird to me, we're going to start making these exceptions because these things need to be explained where, this hero does more melee damage. Where will that be explained? I think an easy way to do it is just have it inside the kit for the ability that's necessary and just have that global 20% nerf to all proper light melees. The next one is that they increased heavy melee cooldown from 0.9 to 1 second, but more importantly is that the cooldown is increased to 1.3 when you miss, which not only nerfs players who bait melee on you, where they melee to the side, then you get a little bit of relief because it often melee you again, but it also prevents players who are using melee as a movement tool. For instance, Bebop has quite a high melee distance without any items whatsoever, and you see a lot of Bebops, especially at higher levels of play, use melee as pretty much a movement tool. And I think this is good because although it keeps it in the game, it does make it less egregious of the Bebop who is punching his way to escape.
Yeah, and I think that's fair because, again, it is intertwined into the movement and it does feel good. Deadlock's movement, honestly, it's S tier, it's up there. It's amazing. It feels really, really good. But something needed to be done. And the way you've at least rebalanced melee with this patch, overall, I think it's better. I think a lot of this as well, it targeted what was, in reality, the issue of running into, picture this, the Abrams that you've knocked down from a parry, you've gone to punch him again, he's parried you in a matter of seconds, he's up, wailing on you.
Yeah.
It was frustrating, it felt inconsistent, you couldn't really pinpoint the timings, and trying to explain to new people, he's actually debuff reduced that.
Yeah.
People just didn't get it because it was like, so what weird, do you mean? Isn't it? This should be set that I get 2 punches in.
Exactly. No, so that's the best way to put it is that parry timing should be the same no matter what, so you know exactly how many you can get in, especially for heroes later on where people absolutely get so in-depth for this. You're going to get so in-depth for this where you'll find a new hero is maybe released in a year's time, and you'll have this instance of my hero in this specific instance can get this ability in and 1 punch in. People will plan these things around parry, but having to get 1 punch in and then think to yourself or hover over and be like, he's got debuff resistance, I'm going to have to get ready for something else. That just feels bad. And the majority of the time, it is characters who are melee based that buy that debuff resistance purely so when they do get parried, they can just keep punching. And that's frustrating. That should be the definitive counter to melee heroes is parrying them.
Yeah. And I think, again, goes back to what I'm saying, right? Punch, parry is such an integral part of Deadlock. When you start adding in an element like this that blurs the lines and makes it harder to understand, I have done X, so I will do Y, I think that's bad. So that already is like a major green light of, that solves a lot of issues of heroes where it's becoming really annoying to play against. And in reality, just caught you off guard when it shouldn't.
And this is a really cool change as well, is that parry bonus damage is no longer melee specific, now affects all damage types. It's reduced from 35% to 30% though, just so you're aware. But this is an amazing change for me personally, because coming off from playing Haze for a long, long time, I love playing Haze. I particularly like playing a pseudo spirit hybrid Haze, where you're sort of speccing into your dagger. if you come up against a Calico or an Abrams who are punching you all the time, it feels really, really bad to get that parry off, only to think to yourself, well, my only option right now is to get space.
Yeah.
Is to space this hero because I've not built at all into melee damage. So my melee is going to be doing pretty much fuck all.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. This is really nice now where if I get a parry off, I can actually use my gun, which I have built into to do damage as well as getting increased damage off the dagger. So there is now a case where if you get parried as a melee hero versus someone who is not melee specific, it's still punishing for you, which is a really amazing change, which I don't think a lot of people have been talking about, in my opinion.
No, I don't think so. I think it, again, as well, a lot of people overlook that, where you get wrapped up into the idea of, obviously, I parried them, I will now punch them.
Yeah.
But there's more to it. Obviously, everything else in Deadlock now actually makes sense, where I think they've realized the importance of the parry punch system. They've massively tied it into the overall flow of the gameplay, and then tried to fix any of the knock-on issues that I suppose now you've got way more data to look at and go, well, people are using it like this. People are countering it like this. Here's how we think it should be done. And I'd agree. I think the Valve changes here are actually spot on.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
They're really good.
Really good.
I was so happy to see a lot of these changes so far because, again, they're changing things that have been integral to Deadlock for a long, long time, including this one, which is weird. It's weird, but it makes sense. Some heroes deserve to have a slightly slower dash, and just for those who haven't seen it, again, there are now 3 buckets for all heroes, which is how it's described, buckets, which we're just tossing characters into right now, which determine how fast or slow your dash speed is. It doesn't determine how far your dash goes, it just determines how quick you get there. So the first bucket is plus 5% speed on that dash, second bucket is minus 5%, and bucket 3 is minus 15%.
And I would say, I think at least from the groupings they've gone for at the minute, it makes sense visually, which is the one element of like, hero archetypes, how they kind of look and feel. Yeah, they put them all in the right place where there's not too much that feels sort of, out of order. Yeah. This also allows for slightly more balance where I think, in heroes like Viper as well, it's not actually that bad. Like the way you've rebalanced this, like you said, the fact is the same distance, but just over a slightly shorter period of time. Slaughter? Yeah, shorter.
Slower and shorter at one slaughter.
Yeah.
That's probably not the word we want to use then. No,
that probably wouldn't be great. Slaughter period of time. But yeah, I think you see why they've done it. And again, now probably is a great time to implement this system because it sets a precedent for the future where even if they develop a hero that has a bit more of like an out there kit and dashing is very integral in like a different way, as some of these heroes already have, you can balance it more and you've got to think about when you use your dashes. You can't just spam them out willy-nilly. It also stops some of the issues as well of like Essence Bomb, getting out of it with the timing. There's a little bit more counterplay that inadvertently has now been added in with this change.
Which I think we'll need looking at again because, for Lady Geist, it's a little bit easier to hit that Essence Bomb, but fair play because a lot of players were just dashing out of it now because they increased the arming time on it. So that's definitely in there. I think some people were wondering why Grey Talon was placed in bucket 1. Don't think he's going to look like that forever. We'll see kind of what changes in what they actually go for in terms of Grey Talon because that is pretty much just a Neon Prime model. That will change. He might be a young man. Who knows? Or he might just look very agile. We'll see.
Maybe he'll just be an owl.
He might just be an owl. You never know.
Owl with a gun.
Yeah, which would be cool. I actually would be. I'd be like that. I'd be down for that.
Well, yeah, I suppose, you draw back the bow with a wing.
Yeah, he sounds like a little...
Throw himself at you and blow up.
Some hands and then, like a wing down here.
Something like that.
Yeah.
You never know. Yeah. But yeah, again, I don't think this is a bad change. It will take some time for people to get used to it. Movement system-wise, again, I don't think it actually really changes the flow. Some heroes do feel a little bit sluggish when going for it, but they kind of might need to. I think Mo and Krill especially... Big hunking mole coming at you. Like the fact that he just had the same dash speed as a Haze, in reality, probably shouldn't be the same way. The visual disconnect there, it's a video game, but I think balancing it this way, where they're at least, same distance, they haven't changed that distance, it's fine. And I think, in a year's time, we won't even remember it. It'll be like, oh yeah, makes sense. That's a slower hero, that's a quicker hero, that's a medium hero.
Yeah, again, for Mo and Crow, it's a nice change because Mo and Crow dashing into a combo was a problem. And now there is, because he gets on top of you, he combos you. You got an issue there, but the speed at which he was able to move that distance as well, pretty rough. So it's nice to have him in bucket 3, where if you're a quicker character, which most characters are, you can dash back out the way. So he needs to be a bit more strategic, purchase items like, majestically, maybe, but more than likely going for a bit more just direct contact, right?
Yeah.
Stuff like that, getting enduring speed, warp stone, these are all perfect things to be picking up.
That's what I was going to say. I think it's as well, it inadvertently allows for more dynamic itemization. Where, Mo and Krills were buying warp stone anyway, but now there's more of a reason to.
Necessary.
Where it's like, I am warp stoning to close the gap to get combo off on an important hero to lock down.
And I need the item, so I can't just dash and get them. So these are all good things. So I think for the buckets, at least, right now, they make sense. I think there's still some things in game where they look funky, they look weird, they don't always work how you imagine they would. But the idea is good, and it will be iterated on, I imagine, over time.
And again, I think that's probably just because it's the same animation, but obviously dragged out over a longer period of time. But now they've come up with this system, and once they probably come up with a conclusion of like, this is roughly where the heroes are staying, you can have brand new animations that will then make it feel very seamless. It will just feel normal.
I imagine, you'll even have heroes with their own little dash animation. I mean, Mirage has got his, where he spins through the air. You even have like a little bit of a slide with Infernus, with the flames, stuff like that, which now they can work in. It's all different.
Make Hayes Naruto run.
That would be cool. Just faster. Yeah. That'd be cool. I'd enjoy that.
Yeah.
Next one is remove teleporters behind the walkers. Never thought this would happen. This actually did catch me by surprise. But that does mean we're back towards more of a MOBA-esque idea right now, where you really do have to worry where you're going. I think it's a good change, which isn't helped by the fact that this will make split pushing more relevant.
I think the thing is, they have tried for so long to have not just asymmetrical teleports, right? Like side lane teleports. I hated that for the longest time. I think that objectively made the laning phase way worse. I revered the day. Weirdly enough, that was after we did the whole podcast where we just complained about it for like 2 hours. Next patch, it was gone, which... Thanks, Valve. Do appreciate that one. Mm-hmm. Objectively, I think that made laning phases better because there wasn't just, I've taken that Guardian. I'm going to come over and now dogpile your lane, take your Guardian.
Instantly, by the way.
And that was it. And you lost all map control.
Yeah.
I'm going to be real. I've never really liked this idea of just being able to be rewarded for poor macro to teleport behind walkers and keep both walkers alive.
Well, there is also that thing where we had it for a while, and it still exists to an extent where you can... from very, very early in the game, death ball around and find a lot of value. And there was no way to counter that because the death ball would come to you via a teleporter if you ever tried to split push. Yeah. Now there is an absolute focus on you need to, if you leave your lane, that lane has still got to be on your mind later on. Like, it's your job to hold that lane. Yeah. If they're pushing, you need to go back there, and this will spread out the players a lot more because you're no longer you're having an instance now where if I decide to go Park, I better make sure that Greenwich is pushed out first. Similarly, if we're all going to push Broadway, we got to make sure that both the side lanes are pushed in. Yeah. And I like this because it does put more emphasis on having solo laners in your game that can hold those positions. And I think this will be amazing for when we get more objectives. If it happens, please, Valve. It'll be amazing where teams have to come together to confirm onto objectives whilst also figuring out how to keep the side lanes safe. Because you're right, there was a lot of plays made. And again, some of it was poor macro. But for the instance of the death ball, it wasn't poor macro. It was just effective, and it was propped up by the fact that we didn't need macro because we could just teleport to the other side of the map.
Yeah, again, like that's one where I actually think it's better. I was saying for a while, like we threw around a lot of different ideas. You can go back. I mean, it's like the trouble with teleporters was the podcast name. We gave a lot of like weird ideas for stuff they could have done to rebalance it.
And they were like,
they kind of just killed them off.
I think that was one of our options. It's just
we just
you
said
could
just
do
get
all
rid
these
of them.
things, or you could just kill them.
Which they have now done. Other than, of course, the asymmetrical secret shop to secret shop teleporters.
They're cool.
Which I think are fine. I don't have an issue with the asymmetrical teleporters.
I still use them a lot.
Like, they are useful and they don't actually get that much traction. Now I feel like you are kind of forcing players more to use them, especially with the bounce pads you decided to get rid of. Again, I think we had this conversation. Well, it's more. I think it just stops players for being rewarded for being out of position. Because you could very quickly TP or rotate with bounce pads. You've solved that in a way.
Do you know why those ones got removed, and why I think they got removed? It's because those specific bounce pads bounced into another set of bounce pads. But those bounce pads were more necessary because they were the ones that got you to the teleporter to allow you to rotate to the sidelines from Broadway, or vice versa, get back over towards Broadway if you played on Park or Greenwich. I hated seeing players, and some of you are very good at this. Okay, I don't want to take this away from you because some of you are very good at it, where they could hit the bounce pad, instantly hit the second, then wall bounce, and you would get a huge amount of distance in such a short amount of time. But like you said, it's a crutch. Yeah, it was absolutely a crutch.
And that's what I think they've really looked at here and kind of realised.
If you're out of position, you are out of position.
And you should be punished for that.
Yeah.
Because, yes, it was fun, and yes, it made sense, but relying entirely on the bounce pads. I remember even when they came in, I was saying, like, it feels like Valve just want you to entirely rotate this way.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's great for the health of the game.
No.
So I kind of see why they've done it. And again, probably need some time to play around with it, but objectively, I think the issues it will cause now are easier to fix than just holding on to these things for another year and then going, maybe we should remove them.
Yeah, this is a wild patch. Again, I said it, but it is a wild patch because it's just a case of Valve turning around and being like, a lot of things we really liked have to go.
It's got to go. It's got to go.
Which is cool. It's just cool. It's an amazing patch for that. We even had some sweeping changes, which are extensive as well. The after 20 minutes, trooper respawn time is reduced from 30 to 25 seconds. Again, another way to speed up the game, giving you more souls in towards that late game. They did reduce the trooper bounty growth, which just means you need to partake more in that laning to get those souls. And even more so as we head a little bit further down. Medium bounties, neutral bounties were increased across the board, but as well as strong neutrals being more than 50% plus 25%. However, they now have a case where the tier 3s respawn in 10 minutes. And I think it's a case with medium neutrals. I think it's 8.
I think so.
Or is it 7 minutes? Is it 7 minutes, 420 seconds? Am I crazy saying that?
Respawn rate from 360 to 420. So plus 17%.
Let's do the math. Have I got my phone on me? Let's do the math because I can do 600 divided by 60.
As you can see, Dead Air have not only the most professional setups, but the quickest mathematicians in Deadlock.
I was right the first time. 7 minutes. Okay, that makes me feel redeemed. Actually, that does make me feel redeemed. I was right the first time. I had to double check that. But yeah, 7 minutes for medium camps, which is just 1 minute less than tier 3s from before. So this is a massive change. So in a 30-minute match, you will have the chance to kill the strong camps twice. That's it. Spawning at 8 minutes. So yeah, it's a wild one. Very, very wild one. I do like it though. I think that this is a good way to put emphasis on jungle camps being massively important to take and to clear without keeping people in the jungle for a long time. The only thing that really does nerf in a big way is Cultist Sacrifice.
Yeah. But I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, to be honest with you.
No.
I think the gameplay loop of how that was going, the jungle was a bit messy. I think we've had a lot of conversations about how the jungle was changed.
Should be
going
cleared,
into 3 lanes.
but it shouldn't be the constant gameplay loop.
That's the thing. It's kind of the meme, of like, you live in the jungle.
Yeah.
And that's your role. That's what you do. objectively that's bad. It teaches players bad habits. I think there was a lot of things that in this patch, ironically, do kind of solve for newer players, especially. You won't learn anywhere near as many bad habits.
It also opens up chances for other objectives to be involved or newer cool ways to do the jungle in general, because there should be a case of this is spawned, we should go do that. But it's not the main focus of my gameplay the entire game, because these things don't spawn that often anymore. And it's also where you take a medium camp off the map. Yeah, it's off there for a long time.
That's what I mean. It feels like something that is a necessary means to an end in a game like Deadlock as a MOBA to be able to buy stuff. But already with that rejuve change, we're seeing the fact that Valve have kind of gone the way of making it team-oriented. You could do that more with this as well, where even you take away that trooper buff. Maybe we get a jungle camp in the future that is entirely separate. You kill that jungle camp, like you say, it pushes one lane with one set of buff troopers. Yeah. You could offer different things where it requires more of the team to partake as a unit, because obviously jungling is like the most solo-oriented thing ever.
Oh, dude, yeah.
It kind of feels lame.
Jungling got to the point where it was just a non-stop job. At least now this is more about spring cleaning on the map. Yeah. It's like, the tier 3s are up, we'll go do them. We don't have to think about them for 10 minutes. Yeah. But that was an objective that I should have got done because I don't want the other team to deny that from me.
And that's the other bit now as well, where I feel like actually it's more interesting in the sense of like, oh, they've stolen our tier 3. Yeah. What a nightmare.
We should challenge for the side lane tier 3s. Yeah. There's so many cool stuff that you can do with it, because it's no longer, because I always felt like, yeah, I could deny their tier 3. It's going to be back up again at some point, though, and this is going to become such a chore of constantly having to do it. But now these are things where it's like, we've taken that tier 3, we have to worry about it for 10 minutes. We can think about maybe denying that one next, because this one is just off the map for a long, long time. So they're cool changes. They are cool changes that needed to be added. The next one would be the fact that they've just reduced combat multipliers. They say a bit, just a little bit, because they were quite strong. It did get to the point where you were having situations where a team would turn the game around off the back of a stolen rejuvenator or just a botched team fight, and that 20 to 30k soul lead you had is just in the bin. Yeah. Despite you dominating for the majority of the game, suddenly that comeback multiplier really caused you some big issues. So I think that's a good idea to bring back.
Yeah. This is another one as well, obviously based on the previous point we were bringing up with the melee changes. We can talk about this a little bit with Sin of Sacrifices. You've made, again, some bigger changes here. This is due to the nature of, obviously, the knock-on effects from the melee changes, basically. You've had to rebalance it slightly. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world of how you've decided to change it. 4 golden buffs rather than 3, because it takes longer with those heavy melees.
It's a Sin of Sacrifice,
yeah, that's fair enough. I think, again, we had very egregious, ridiculous levels of golden buffs that used to be applied with how strong they used to be back in the day, especially. So this ain't even that bad. Like, Sin of Sacrifices as well, I think in reality now, should be a little bit more fought over, should be a bit more of a big deal.
And it was fun when that was the case, actually. I quite liked that.
Well, that's the thing. I remember we had games where it was like, the comms of literally being like, we're going to win this game off of controlling the sinners. Yeah. And the fact that could become an element of like, if we can actually starve them out for sinners and bring our like passive stats up off of it, it's more interesting. Now there's a little bit more of a dynamic nature to it as well, where it isn't literally just have melee done. Yeah. You have some options here now.
Yeah, I think the main option at the moment is just light melees into a heavy melee at the end. The retaliate damage got increased a little bit as well, so it's something that you can do, but not all the time, especially if you don't have any kind of self-sustain. Yeah. This is something that you would go take, you would get your 4 buffs, and you'd be done. So you're not necessarily taking both the Sin of Sacrifices upstairs over towards the side lanes. So there's more nuance to it now. We'll see if they change it again in the future. They also reduced the hero bounties based on the amount of players that were involved in the kill. This is, I think, to reduce death balling a little bit and make it less efficient. So it's 1 to 6 players is essentially a coefficient of 100%, 100%. So that's when you have 1 or 2 players involved, all the way down to a 75% efficiency when you have 6 players involved. Because, again, death balling sucks. We all played that patch, or you might not have played that patch, but Everyone who did play it remembers the meta of the death ball, and it was disgustingly unfun. I don't think anyone enjoyed that because it felt like the lanes didn't really matter anymore. The lane where the death ball was the only one that counted, the only one that existed.
Yeah. Again, I think inherently the game's health will be better because of this.
Yeah.
It's not a habit that should be encouraged. It's not the way the game's meant to be played, and it just feels lame. Like, I don't know, man.
Death balling should be a case 30 to 35 minutes into the game where you're looking to force a team fight, but not
exactly.
based off 10 minutes trying to work your way towards 30.
It's situational, and it makes sense when it is big team fight moments where it's all-out brawls that can decide the game. Yes. Not, let's send 5 players up that lane just to destroy everything. You're sat there like, well... All right. Yeah. So
that's happened.
That's good. I think again, that's nice. You're not really necessarily massively punishing players. It's just enough to make people realize this actually isn't benefiting that much. You know, and being able to get the same benefit from ganking with 2 players versus 6 probably was a bit silly.
A tiny bit. We changed some other stuff. We didn't change some stuff, but we had a few other changes in the patch notes. Movement slow and shooting reduced from 30% to minus 25%, which is fine. I think that's an okay change. We're just adding to the movement capabilities of characters. Sidewalkers' HP was increased by 10%, which is great because Sidewalkers are typically very weak compared to the Broadway. And again, we also have objectives no longer have 20 to 25% spirit resistance. So it's a lot more damage being done by spirit damage, which makes sense because your gun you can shoot all the time, barring reloads, obviously. But you only have so many abilities, and some of those abilities have 10 to 20 second CDs on them. So it makes sense that spirit damage should be better.
Yeah, which I think, again, that's fine. We sort of saw that trend already coming in a couple of the other patches as of late, like June, July. So that's just kind of similarly followed on here, which I think is better, like you say. More so as well, an interesting one that's in the mix of this segment of the patch notes, zipline knockdowns. Now, I think this is actually one of those where initially it's going to throw you off, especially if you're the one being knocked off.
Yeah.
But the fact that you were carrying momentum and just kind of like, cratering off
bit dumb
behind the walker in the teleporter. You're a golf ball. You've got away.
Yeah.
That felt silly. Punishing someone with a knockdown off a zip line should be a big deal.
It's a punish.
That's what I mean. If you've made the heads-up call to go for it and been punished because of it, they should be rewarded. And if you were able to get away by carrying momentum, especially like zipline boosts, you're off. You're not going to capture them. They're so far ahead. The time they've been able to get back up on their legs, it's nowhere near as effective as it could be.
Yeah.
The fact that now you just drop straight down and then the stun timer starts when you hit the ground, that almost just feels like it should have always been that way.
Absolutely. Again, these are things that just Valve's figuring out as we go on. And we go, actually, this is a mechanic that should work a little bit differently. They did change the stun duration from 3 seconds to 2.5, which makes sense because the stun doesn't actually occur until you hit the ground now.
Yeah.
So as soon as you blink off and then you're on the ground, you are now stunned for 2.5 seconds. And this should affect more skillful and cool plays, which is why it's quite annoying for us reading those mantle changes, because this is a tough break, but you're being punished for something that you've allowed to happen. You need to get far enough back that you're not getting shot. It's the same thing with mantling. Like, it doesn't happen unless a player comes up to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, these are things that I wish would.
But I think that's a good example as well, though, because that's one of those where objectively you've kept the same idea, but iterated in a way where the mechanic works the same. It's just more accurate to what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas the mantle one, it feels like you've just you've kept the same system, but not really. It's very much by nature very different.
Mm-hmm.
I like the way they've got about it here far more. I think this makes way more sense and also is easier to understand for players.
Yeah, I think so. I think so as well. There's a new UI indicator as well. Exciting stuff for pending heal effects, like Abram's passive, stuff like that, which is very, very cool to see. I was happy to see it overall. There's a lot of things on the health bar which need more indication of what they're doing. Because, I mean, even when you're playing Shiv, like, your health bar looks weird. up and down all over the place, hard to really figure out where you're going, if you're going to survive or not. So I think that's a really good change, and I think more clarity on abilities like resilience. It's important. It's important.
No, again, I think that's another one where it's a quality of life feature that they put in that makes sense to go in now. There's a lot of stuff that needed it, and you'll actually understand.
It's a good start.
Yeah,
it's a great start.
It shows that there's a lot more to come without clearly looking at the UI. I think this entire patch reeks of that, where again they've just sort of realised some of these things don't make sense to the general player base. Yeah, some of them maybe they've reworked in a weird way, but most of them it's actually like, you've just made it easier to understand and a little bit more consistent.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We're finished with gameplay changes. We're done. We're actually on to weapon items, and as you know, us here at Dead Air, we'll speedrun these, basically. We're going to go through, give you the general changes. We can choose the important ones. Yeah, and then we will, for the rest, we'll kind of just briefly go over.
I think it's fair to say, with a lot of the items inside of this patch, it was more targeting problematic items and underused items. That's the way I think they've really gone about it.
It was some sweeping changes, though, and again, it's sort of stuff that they were just like, this needs to be changed, and we need to hit it hard. It's some of the hardest they've hit items in recent times, where it's not a case of a 1.5 to 1% difference. For instance, Fleetfoot, they reduced the bullet resistance on that from 10% down to 6%, because overall resistances are going through the roof, and becoming a real difficulty where you're forced to bind to things to kind of reduce that resistance a lot. And if you don't have a hero or another teammate to reduce those resistances, it's all with Shred, which is why Seven's so popular right now, is that his Shred is actually one of the biggest issues. It's why also Vindicta, you see her a lot in pro play, is that although Tether is fantastic, the fact that she's self-sufficient with Assassinate, the Shred on Crow is actually one of her strongest abilities, because it's both a bullet shred and a spirit shred. So yeah, we're bringing down resistances across the board. Melee charger, its bullet resistance reduced from 10 to 6%. Spirit reduction was increased from -7% to 8% for spirit shredder bullets. So we're moving a little bit more of that off over towards spirit shredder. But yeah, it's cool. It's very, very cool. I like that overall. I think these are all good changes.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. Like, the majority of item changes you've had in here all do make sense. It's nothing that's super out of left field in the reasoning of why they've done it. I'm sure these are items that you've experienced feeling kind of in your face and offensive a lot of the time. It's also follow up with some of the changes you've had with melee, so like Crushing Fist there, the additional distance that you get in from it, obviously going down slightly to that plus 60% rather than plus 70%. A lot of these things just kind of do, you read it once and you go, oh, all right, I get it. Yeah.
The big one that you might have missed is the slowing bullets change, which is after build-ups achieve, debuff duration is refreshed rather than starting build-up again. I don't know how I feel about this one in particular, because if you ever played against slowing bullets, which I imagine you have, or you guys at home, the slow really stacks up on top of other things, and you just feel like you're walking around like a slug. I don't know how I feel about it. I've not run into it too often so far, but we'll see. We'll see with that one.
It's weird as well, because this one actually, you're right in the sense where the odd thing about this one is it's uncharacteristic to the way we've had a lot of changes to even inherent abilities that apply that need to be rebuilt up.
Yeah.
Whereas with this one, they kind of went the other way around. Which did confuse me a little bit, where it's like, oh, all right, we've kind of had this trend of, once it's applied once, you've got to build it back up. That's how a lot of things now work in the game. But yeah, a bit of a difference on that one. Slows in general feel like they could actually start to be a problem, especially if you're thinking about like you're being spammed by slowing bullets from a haze. You get mantle stunned.
Mantle
Are you
slowed.
even going to be able to move?
Yeah.
Like, can you even move?
You're going to be slowed down to an absolute ginormous amount, right? It's going to be exponential.
Snail fella.
Yeah, which is not Snail fella's going to be.
Snail fella's going to be.
Yeah, it's bad, very, very bad. But I need to play more of it. Again, I don't really like slows in general.
No.
In fact, I don't mind slows. I don't mind slows when it's a case of like 40%, 60%, and those are the short-term ones, or 30% ones, which are the long-lasting ones. But it's when they like start to compound and it's pretty much a route at that point. That's where I don't like slows.
Yeah, that's where it starts to become quite problematic, especially
They're
when
easily
it's
applicable.
overlapping. Well, that's the thing, yeah. There's so many that you could throw at one hero where you're grounded down, so you're not even really moving, but you don't feel that way. And it's the disconnect, I think, for some players, especially where they're just not quite sure why all of this is happening.
Yeah, I do hear it a lot in those games. It's like, I can't move. It's like, you're slowed? No, but I can't move. Yeah. You're slowed. You're slowed.
It's a big slow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're stopping time on that one. Express shot primary damage weapon increase from 165 to 185, making some more interesting builds available. So yeah, that could be fun. That could be very, very fun. I have always liked express shot. It's just a question of how it's implemented across several different weapons and their alt fires and stuff like that. But I do think it's a fun item. I think it's one of the more fun items that has been added. I think I'm not an authority on how to balance it because a lot of it is crunching the numbers. I think there's some very good videos out there on crunching the numbers. I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head. I'll put it in a comment somewhere. But anyway, he's done some fantastic videos on how these numbers work, how they affect stuff, and I think that you can create some very fun builds off the back of it. But yeah, it's intricate. It's definitely intricate. It's a similar sense with Alkfire and how Alkfire works. There's a lot of nuance to it. But yeah, so I don't think I can give like a massive opinion on primary weapon damage increase from 165 to 185. I know that's going to increase some things like carbine damage from Paradox, because that build was killed off a little bit, but not massively. But this will bring it back up to speed slightly. The other one was toxic bullets, damage reduced from 2.5% max HP to 2.1, which is fantastic. Except they give it spirit scaling, but I don't mind that so much because it was more annoying on gun characters, honestly.
Yeah, it's far minor as well. It will obviously compound over the course of the game. But, yeah, I think the bigger issue has been solved with it, at least. Yeah. So it's not going to be as much of a problem, especially as well because a lot of the heroes that it was really egregious with were already nerfed in the last kind of
Exactly. It's a case where gun characters now get a little bit of extra damage for ticking down on tanks, and overall, that's a good thing. On the other hand, for heroes that are out now or might come out in the future that have high fire rates, which spec into spirit, that's great for them as well because now you don't have to build as many gun items, and this efficiently takes up that slot to make your weapon relevant, and you're not just based around basically shoring up your weapon damage whilst also still finding success in your ability. So I think this is a cool change with the spirit scaling. More bullet resist changes. This is a massive cut, by the way. A Berserker's bullet resistance reduced from 16% to 8%, which is crazy.
Yeah, we'll speed through a little bit just because obviously the hero changes were also relatively vast inside of this patch, so we won't spend too long on the items. Because we're probably quite a long podcast.
This is a really long podcast.
It's a classic episode. You've got a full Dead Air patch breakdown back on the docket.
Yeah, I think the only other big ones is weapon shielding and spirit shielding scaling with boons. That's really cool. And return fire got gutted. I think a lot of people weren't too happy with this one, but me personally, I quite like it.
There's one in here that sticks out like a sore thumb. And me and you both obviously chatted about this the day the patch came out. For context, I absolutely despise cheat death. I think cheat death is a horrific item that just shouldn't even be in the game.
Yeah.
If you think that's a hot take, it might be. But I just hate it. I just don't see the point of it in the game. It kind of filled a role, but at least the one caveat was it had counterplay. I hate this change. The fact that you can no longer pierce through it with Killing Blow, Guided Owl, executes. Like literally by name, fundamentally an execute.
I think that's what this should be.
Why not? Why I can no longer kill? Why cheat death exist? Why I can no longer execute? One of these has to go.
Yeah.
The item or the execute capability. Yeah, I just objectively think that's a bad change.
Yeah, I don't like either. Again, it's a case where if characters start building cheat death, then our character is more likely to buy cheat death, then I need to be having that option to build into a hero or pick a hero whenever we get draft, which I hope comes soon in the future, to have that ability to do that. I think that the more efficient way to change that is just to get rid of it. It's a gimmicky item. It's an annoying item.
Dude, this is the thing. I said to you before, like, you get rid of Soul Rebirth. Soul Rebirth was an item that at least had some kind of counterplay. At least you knew, like with the rejuves now, right?
Well.
They're going to be where they're going to be. You just dogpile back on them. You've got a couple seconds to turn your attention on the rest of the team. Then we need to group back up, make sure we kill that guy. Instead, with cheat death, on some heroes, it's so egregious where you've got like a Wraith who just, cheat death comes into effect. Well, see ya, I'm out, and you're gone. And it's just...
The issue with that as well is that you see most Wraiths, the one building cheat death, because when they teleport, they're getting a barrier.
Yeah.
And you can't pierce that barrier because they're so far away. Any little chip damage that would have gone through to deal that one damage that you needed, you're not getting it because the barrier is going to completely change it. So anytime you add barrier heroes in the future, anytime the barrier heroes right now in the game benefit from this, they'll get a lot out of just having cheat death. And it's just a get out of jail free card if they have any kind of movement.
And at least the one element was you had that element of communicating with your team and being like, we need the Shiv to execute that Wraith.
Yeah.
And then you actually had a shutdown. You had some kind of flow to it where, is it an annoying item? Yes. Could we at least counter it? Yes. Now you just can't. I don't know. For the people that are out there that are buying cheat death, like,
come on.
What are you doing? And Valve, can we just get rid of it? Like, I don't know, man. Maybe that's just me, but I really hate cheat death. I don't like the concept of it.
It'd be not. You know what would be very nice is if anyone's got any thoughts on cheat death in the comments, or you're a positive cheat death gamer. I'd love to hear your thoughts because honestly, I would like to be swayed. I personally don't really like the item. I didn't like when Soul Rebirth was around either, but there was counterplay to it where it's a case of, guys, they're respawning. We need to deal with this in the future.
That's the annoying thing is I just think the fact you got rid of Soul Rebirth and then we got Cheat Death and that was almost like, the fill-in for that kind of item. I think Soul Rebirth was actually better than this. But yeah, if you like it, let us know why. Because I'd be curious to see what the consensus from someone that isn't a Cheat Death hater is.
Especially with new rejuve now as well. Cheat Death allows you to now just fight for a long, long time. Cheat death procs, you're getting additional time of just being alive. And when you do die, you're just going to respawn full HP.
And that's the other thing is because it allows you to artificially elongate the actual youth of rejuve buff, which, as we said, it only seems long if you're not dying and losing it. Whereas with something like this, you can now kind of starve that out, blur the line. I don't know. It's an item where inherently I just think it doesn't really have any place in the flow of the game right now.
Yeah. But alas, this is what we've got right now. I've dropped an alas. Things are bad.
Huzzah.
Huzzah.
A nice jape from Valve.
Like,
what a jest. You've cheated death.
The big ones from Spirit is that we have a case of Tank Buster now ignores enemy spirit resistance. It did have its damage reduced from 6 to 5%, but that's still pretty chunky. The other one is Surge of Power, which is cooldowns increased from 8 to 14 seconds, duration increased from 6 to 8, and fire rate increased from 20 to 22%. So it's now less of a case of you can proc this all the time with fast firing abilities, fast cooldown on abilities, and more a case of I need to pick my moments. I think likely with this, what you'll probably see is Surge of Power. I think there was still card trick Surge of Power games in the past, me being one of them. But I think that there's going to be a lot more players now, for Wraith in particular, putting Surge of Power on Rapid Fire. Right, that's just going to be the case because you want more of that oomph at a opportune time, and this is the way to confirm you're getting it. Because if you throw a card trick out, you're just killing troopers. Someone goes out the blue. You don't have Surge of Power for 14 seconds as opposed to 8, which was much shorter.
Yeah, you've actually got to think about it a little bit more because that's the thing. It was literally like you could have it on Flask as Warden, which seems silly. If you're just, you're spamming that out so consistently and still being able to proc it, where in reality, it's actually something that should probably more actually be used on even like the ult as an actual like instant burst when you need it. And it never really made sense to because it was like, well, the actual use I'm getting out of it was just so infrequent. So yeah, again, that's one where I think it actually has better knock-on effects with the nerf there, with how you've changed it. You've actually made Tank Buster an item that does actually bust tanks as well, which is kind of crazy.
Cool.
That's mad.
Cool. I like that a lot. And that's all the items. We're off items. We're on heroes. We're almost there, guys. First one's Bebop. Massive changes, actually, for Bebop. Doesn't get 10% bullet resist at the start of the game, so not only is he very slow, he's got no dash, but he continuously just beating on Bebop because inherently one of the strongest heroes in the entire game. But they reduced all the weapon damage you get inherently off the abilities, which you get very, very quickly into the game. So plus 50% weapon damage went down to plus 40% on uppercut, as well as 25% weapon damage to 20% weapon damage on grapple arm. I think they're more experimenting with this more than anything, because it is a 10% and a 5% nerf, but that's definitely noticeable.
Oh yeah, you will actually notice the difference there on Bebop, and I think again, this is why we were saying you're going to have some of these changes even coming up now when we're getting into heroes, where it's like, oh wow, I didn't actually expect them to start playing around with X, Y, and Z because they just haven't for so long. Bebop for the longest time for me kind of felt like, for the old WoW players out there, the analogy would be druids, where every patch it felt like Blizzard was like, oh, you're a special little druid. you can fly and do herbology and mine and all the other things. And they never really got punished for it. Whereas finally now you've actually got some changes here that don't ruin Bebop, but they rebalance him in a better way.
Yeah, there's far too many times where you see Bebop just buying full defensive kits early on and return fire, and still finding huge amount of success on the character in terms of damage just because of these abilities. Because it's baked in. It is baked in.
Whilst we're throwing it out there, by the way, return fire can go as well. If we're getting rid of cheat death, get rid of return fire as well.
I think return fire is a good item that is badly balanced.
What?
I think that it should be an item where it's a. I've already given feedback about this as well. Is that I think that the item should be, say, similar in terms of the damage returned, but it should, or even increased. Bear with me. Stay with me now.
All right.
But the duration should be much shorter.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think it's less of a case of I turn my return fire on as I'm taking an engagement, and now I take no damage, and you can't really fight me without having a terrible time. So you just have to turn tail and wait for my return fire to turn off.
Well, I think that's the issue as well, because that comes back to the conversation of bad habits. And that entire item is designed to reward bad habits.
You're opening a fight with return fire.
Yeah.
It's like, instead of Haze's user ultimate, I can press return fire, and she's going to have to cancel that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, she's going to die because the damage has increased. So yeah, I think it's an item that just needs more reward for using it.
Yeah. I think it should be more timing based. You know, again, there's a lot of items in Deadlock right now that feel like they could go that way if you gave them a secondary pass where it came down to rewarding perfect timing.
Yeah.
Because it shouldn't just be I've pressed Q, I'll win.
Same. I have an idea that I've dropped feedback about as well for Metal Skin, where it's a case of Metal Skin not only blocks all bullet damage, but on top of that, if you punch a character with Metal Skin on, you take a lot of damage because punching metal usually hurts.
Yeah.
So the idea is that you could even turn it on as someone's punching you, and they take damage from that. Maybe it means you just can't be. I'm not sure. I think even that's just fine.
Well,
you don't take any damage from it, and it does damage.
You could even offer that as like if you use Metal Skin after like a very short window or whatever, when it then has procs, that could be like a half parry.
Yeah.
You know, just something where it's like, oh, all right, another element of I'll avoid that. Yeah, I think, you know, for the item talk, there's stuff that could still be done. Items are in a pretty good space overall, especially after this patch as well.
Yeah, I think so.
That's another one.
Because they have brought down a lot of the value in terms of defensive capabilities were baked into a lot of items, as opposed to their actual use case. Like Berserker having 16% bullet resist, like, why
though?
Yeah. So yeah, it's good. It's definitely good. Great Talon can now be played as purely as a guided missile. We've guided Owl cooldown reduced from 135 to 120 seconds, which I think means you can get it down to 22, 24 seconds now.
Because this was already becoming quite popular.
Yeah.
Just, you know, it didn't matter if you had the damage on it or were getting stacks, you were just Owl.
Yeah.
Which, you know what? It was actually kind of a viable build.
I think it's a really fun build.
Yeah.
I think it's a really fun build, especially now we don't have the teleporters. I think it's cool to have a Grey Talon who gets a lot of work done in one lane, but can still just be relevant across the map with Owl. And that's the same kind of playstyle you see a lot pro level from Mirage, as well as the high level of gameplay in games, which I think more and more will trickle down through the ranks, as Mirage just plays one lane because he has global presence with Traveller. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff there, which is cool to see.
Yeah.
They know I hate this.
Yeah,
and I'm glad they changed it.
So yeah, I think we mentioned about this on the podcast before, where it was Ricochet. Where they fixed that because that was incredibly annoying. Where you just get absolutely pranged by bullets from someone just missing and shooting an objective. Like, oh my bad, have that. Yeah, Arctic Beam no longer bounces off objectives. Why did it anyway?
Yeah.
In reality, again,
There was a lot of things for Kelvin. It was like, why?
Why can he take the urn for free?
Yeah.
Why can he still use teleporters inside his dome?
Yeah.
Why is he bouncing Arctic Beam off everything in the world?
Yeah, there's a lot of things in there where, Kelvin, in my opinion, has one of the best kits in the game. I love his kit so much, and it all works together quite seamlessly, and has a theme to it. It's like genuinely one of my favorite kits in the entire game. I don't play him all that much, but in terms of what he has, I really like.
They've nailed it for what it is.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Kelvin's super cool, but there is a lot of things where it's like, why can he do that?
Especially when the descriptions and way Valve have kind of taken stances on things, then contradicted how the rest of his kit works. Yeah, that's a better change. I like that. There's bits in here that I don't like as much. We're talking about Lady Geist now. All of this is Essence Bomb related. Now, here's a good one. Projectile speed increased by 25%. The one I don't like in reality is the fact that they're no longer sticky. I thought, if anything, you rebalance it around the nature of you should be sticking 24/7 because you could dash out of it with the arming time. The radius wasn't as punishing until you built the radius up with itemization. The fact it's no longer sticky and it's gone this way, I get it. Yeah, it's quicker. I don't like that as much. In reality, I like the older system of being able to stick to units. I think, if anything, they should lean into that more, reward you for actually getting sticks off. Where it seemed like that's what Essence Bomb was supposed to be used as. And a good Geist was someone that was very good with tracking and tracing, unlike the UK postal system.
Very true. Lost a many of my postage that way. My opinion is it's very similar to yours, and it's something I've been really trying to hammer home on the forums for basically the past 8 months, is just hero reward systems for playing them. And for Lady Geist, it's one of the first suggestions, actually from a friend who suggested it, and I thought, that's a fantastic idea. Why is that not the case for more heroes? Where the idea was that Lady Geist threw the bomb, there is a perfect reticle towards the center of it, and then you have the outer edge. If you're able to hit a character on that perfect circle in the middle, it does more damage. Very basic, but it adds a little bit of an extra thing to the game. Other stuff like, for instance, being able to walk an Ivy tether over another player and it snaps and does damage. You lose the buff on your teammate and it has to regrow over time, but that Ivy still has control over it. But maybe it does a 0.5 second stun, and this is a new way to make +1 tether exciting. Things like that. Just additional little things that add skill ceiling to heroes, where you could look at someone and be like, that's a good Bebop player, but have you seen his Mirage? Have you seen how he plays his Mirage? Because there are things in that kit, for instance, the more gym marks you have, the more your scarabs swerve towards a target. And that means that I'm waiting to use my Jin's mark whilst I aim these scarabs in the meantime. And I have to pick the right moment.
There was a lot of this we kind of hypothesized. We were saying, in reality, with the kits that you've got, because I gave the suggestion, obviously, like Power Surge builds for 7, almost feels like in reality Power Surge doesn't necessarily need to exist within his kit. Because you could make it, if any of you ever played like the later Borderlands games, I think it was Hyperion, their guns, basically, one of them, you could shoot out an electric ball, and if you shot through that electric ball, your bullets were then amped and would chain lightning. So you could effectively take what Power Surge is and tie that to ball, so you could either use it to zone, deal damage off the stun, or as a setup where you're shooting through that to get an additional buff from it. I think there's so much they could do with a secondary pass. Obviously, this is probably a conversation for a different day, but to look over everyone's kits and just go, could we give
how do we make this cooler?
Higher skill ceiling, intricate ways you could use it.
How can I tie it into something else?
More variants.
It's cool. There's stuff like that which I just really love for them to explore into the future, because I think there's so much potential for it, and I want the heroes to be more about the heroes. I love the items. I love itemization in MOBAs in general and cool builds, but I want I want those builds to accentuate parts of the kit, and not the kit accentuate what the items do.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's sort of the bigger part of it.
We're almost at the end, but we are at the big thing, which I think a lot of people might have been waiting for us to discuss before we close things out. That you might have already read this. If you haven't, Shiv finally got some big, and I would call these reworks to his kit. Rage now only builds up from damaging players. It's no longer something you can build up outside of combat with jungle, with troopers, with even Sinner's Sacrifice built up Rage, which made no sense. And they've changed Bloodletting. It's incredible.
Well, that's the thing. This was obviously like what we alluded to. It's like Shaun of the Dead. We were foreshadowing it way back at the beginning of the podcast, right? But that is over a year and 2 months where it felt
Shiv
like...
is Shiv.
And that was it. And there was never any changes because he's a special little Shiv flake. You know, he's our special little snowflake, and we're going to let him do that forever. But why? Objectively, it was a problem. It didn't feel fun to play against. Like, yeah, sure, if you're a Shiv main, you probably live in your movie. But you weren't actually like being rewarded. It was just inherently like, well, I have all the rage in the world. And they've kind of solved it. Like, you've come at it from an angle where you have initially realized, we could do X, Y, and Z. And again, these changes aren't that drastic, but they just make sense and do fix a lot of the core issues with the characters. So glad to see Shiv finally got his comeuppance.
Yeah, I watched Metro get pwned by a Shiv who was constantly on 10 HP. It was a great clip, very, very funny. Yeah. Couldn't believe it when I was watching it. Replayed it a good 3 times.
I bet you did.
Yeah, I couldn't believe what I was watching. It was incredible. But yeah, that had to go.
It did need to go, and it has gone.
Yeah. So I'm glad about that. There was a lot of changes to bloodletting, basically about damage clear and how quickly bloodletting takes effect. So no longer living on borrowed time for a long time, and never having to pay back that time loan, which he quite clearly owed. So yeah, this is the great changes overall. And thank you, honestly, a massive heartfelt thank you to Valve for not just sticking to their guns on this type of stuff. Yeah. There's been so many complaints from the community for such a long time about this specific thing, and I'm glad that they're open to suggestions and ideas, although it has taken a while.
It's taken a while, but Shiv Mania has been dealt with.
Yes.
And now there's room to iterate on this as well.
Yeah.
That's the better thing. It sets the precedent that, again, this will change. Yeah. He's not just going to be able to live like this forever.
No.
Because why?
The 7 changes, I think, are lackluster because they're hoping that the item changes will affect how his kit works. That's what I'm saying to you. I still think Shred's an issue in his kit. I think Stormcloud's in a weird place, in my personal opinion. I don't think that it is the major thing that is the problem about the kit. I think it's almost a boring aspect of his kit, and it's more power surge as well as basically being able to do it all, being fast as well, and being a great jungle clearer. All these things like make up why 7's so good. I think the changes they made here, when you're looking at them, don't really make sense in isolation. I think with this one, it's more of a hot fix. It's like, we're going to tone him down slightly. We're going to see if we can tone down the items that he's most commonly using and see if that affects him. But I wouldn't be surprised for the second pass on 7, honestly.
I think something more will have to change with this because, again, like, it's funny because it almost felt like it was overlooked and people got a bit sort of muddled up where it was, it was ult mania for 7. He's just taking all the objectives, and that patch sort of made everyone move away from realizing the true potential of power surge. Dude, I've just been power surging for the longest time.
A lot of people have, and you know what? Congrats on the Ela.
Yeah,
I guess.
like it's
evil,
it's free. Like it's literally free. And even now, like the games I've been playing, it was like I was playing 7 pre-patch, playing 7 post-patch. I haven't really had to change anything. I'm still just power surging. Yeah. And that's the issue. That's why I mentioned that idea for power surge, because I think it's just you could move away from it.
It's really strong. It's really anything with that much damage on top of it, as well as that much utility, which is off cooldown practically all the time, without really having to buy superior cooldown either. It's nuts. It's very, very nuts. Again, for me, this one just feels like there's going to be a second pass. Let's look at how the items affect him, and then we'll see what more we need to do.
Yeah.
The rest are all pretty basic. Warden had his damage reduced, which needed to be done overall. Wraith got brought back up again because she was a little bit lackluster. There was an interesting one to Yamato where in lane, like her ult fire was reduced from 63 to 50, but now grows as boons, grows with boons, which is nice, where the ult fire is still effective in the late game and less egregious in lane.
Yeah.
So I think they're all really nice changes. Nothing crazy towards the end here. But yeah, it's a great patch, an awesome patch.
Yeah. I think that's the top and bottom of it. Obviously, there's a couple little other bits we've skipped over there, but you can read through the notes. For the gist of it, you know how we usually do these. We pick out the major things, the important stuff that sticks out to us as well from our time in the server, in the Cursed Apple. And I think, hands down, very good optics for the future. It's a great balance patch.
Yeah.
It's one of those where, again, it's also already, like we've been saying, I want to play more. I want my PC.
Yeah.
I don't want a laptop. Because Deadlock is such a special game. And again, this is one of those patches that gives you that new air where you just want to grind it a bit because it's so drastically different than the last patch. The elements they've changed make it feel a bit more fun, make it feel a bit more team-oriented. You fixed a lot of core issues. It's opened some doors for potentially some new issues, but you've closed far more doors than you've opened.
Yeah, which is nice. We're reducing the building size, which is good, in my opinion. Again, I feel like we're back on those patches where Valve really knows what they're doing, and they're starting to see the matrix a little bit. They can see the numbers. It's all starting to make sense when it's all starting to click. And I think these are very, very positive signs for Deadlock in general.
Yeah, they're bringing the gavel down as well on some of the things they haven't really changed at all, which is lovely to see. But yeah, overall, I think, again, man, like it's a great patch. It's a good one to get out there and play. It feels very fun. I don't really think there's that many complaints. Obviously, we've thrown a few ideas in there, which we always will.
It's more like they've addressed the right things, but would I like them to be addressed in maybe a slightly different way? Maybe. But it's good just knowing that they know where the pain points are.
Yeah. And we wouldn't be able to have these conversations if they didn't at least take risks and make the initial change for us to even know, oh, I don't like that. But we'd never even think that if they didn't at least run the risk of changing it in the first place.
Yeah.
And again, even some of the ideas we have probably have a lot of holes in them. You just need to kind of throw it out there and see what Valve want to do. But they've at least bit the bullet.
No one throws pasta at the wall where every single bit of pasta sticks. Let's put it that way, right?
Unless it's really sticky pasta.
Yeah, but
like cheese and butter.
Might get a pasta that hits another
Depends on the type of pasta and the wall.
This is uncooked pasta.
Oh, then none of it's going to stick.
I've put a little bit of glue on some of them. Do you not like this analogy?
Well,
do I need to change?
We could workshop it. We'll bring it back for next week's episode.
All right, I'll figure it out. But
we'll buy some pasta.
The idea is that you can't be right every time.
Yeah.
You can't be right on everything.
If you lock 100 monkeys in a room, they won't type out Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Because
Valve,
that's hard.
It is hard.
And
they
don't know Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Not really at all connected to anything we've just spoke about.
Not really, no.
Just thought I'd throw that out
there. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I think that overall it's a case where I'm glad that we've gone into this, and as a community, Valve's like, we hear you, we know what's happening. It's just a case of given time, we're getting there.
Yeah.
And the game does get better every single patch, which is good in my opinion. I'm happy to see it. I can only be very excited because we had a lot. Also, to just close things off before we go, a lot of communication from Valve's side of things. Also, give Valve a little bit of slack, just a tiny bit, because Yoshi obviously had the night of reckoning, the 24th of July, where everyone thought the patch was coming. There was some ideas of that patch coming round. Not even really the patch coming around, but just vague rumors of a day meaning something, which then was spinned into a whole conspiracy of a patch returning. It got intense. It got intense in the Deadlock chat. Yeah. I was there. I was there for it. I think if you're listening, just give them a little bit of slack. but it was also very nice that they were so communicative, and that a lot of this message from Yoshi is most likely coming from the whole team as well. So that was cool to see. But we know a major patch is coming. We know new heroes are coming, which is awesome. Overall, very happy.
Yeah, no, that's the nice thing. Like, having that level of communication where they actively just told us in the main Discord, like, yeah, here's some of the stuff we're working on. Yeah. We need time. Like, fair enough, man. You can see there's clearly a lot going on. There's probably an awful lot more going on that we're yet to find out about. Deadlock's in a good spot. It's a very fun game. That sentiment's never changed. No. It's just a different game every couple months in some ways, which that's never been, anything different. I think the game we played a year and a half ago compared to the game we played 6 months ago was drastically different. That's going to keep happening. It's just going to keep getting iterated on. Yeah, and that's the other one. It must be a hard time at Valve. It feels like they're throwing a lot of different stuff out. CS is getting crazy updates. They're trying to move stuff to Anim Graph 2. You can see the optics there for the future. They're getting more and more comfortable with Source 2 as an engine. Generally, it's, let them cook. Just let them cook. They know what they're doing. Yeah. This patch sort of shows that. They do know what they're doing.
We're at the end of the cycle right now, I would say, where we had our major content patch, and it's taken them a while. Yeah. So, I mean, that can only mean one thing, is that there's a lot coming. And if there isn't, what have we been doing? But yeah, this major content patch should be amazing. That's all I can hope for, really. Yeah. So when it's out, hopefully in the near future, because they've been working on it for quite a while, and this is a little bit longer, I think, than the last time between.
Potentially, so I'd have to check the timing.
It's a little bit longer. But yeah, it's on the way, right? Yeah. I mean, so I'm very excited to see what they've got in the kitchen.
And look, I mean, they've banged it out of the park. Like, changed to 3 lanes. Load of content came with that. Load of differences. Item rework. Load of differences. Load of content. Which I think that's the big one that people seem to always, rant and rave about. We want content. Yeah. This, to me, is a lot of content. But I suppose some people just mean, I need my visuals. I need my graphics. I need my thing.
My graphics.
Yeah. And I'm sure stuff like that will come. Yeah. But again, this really is a great patch. I mean, that's the top and bottom of it. Kind of glad we got to do this one in person as well. It is a bit of a weird throwback.
It is, yeah. It's out. Yeah. It's out.
It's there.
Yeah, that was a cool one. Yeah, we were there for when the embargo broke, which is cool. And we got to post it live. This time we get to post it live anyway, but to all of you guys, which has been an awesome experience on this pretty much anniversary, I would say, of the on the road.
Nearly, no, literally a year from the very first on the road, which was funny because obviously that was just like, I can't make a full patch notice. Should we just talk about it more? And then we were like, it's quite a fun format, actually. Yeah. That was before the Dead Air channel was even incepted, actually, now thinking back on it. That was when I was making them just on the Jacky channel for patch notice. And then, So yeah, crazy. Time has flown by. It's going to keep on going. Things are happening. Wearing the shirt. We've got the logo on the shirt. That's mad. More to follow about that once we can. We'll let you know. There's an awful lot of stuff that we'll be delving more into in the future as well. We'll probably try and make at least 1 more or 2 more of these whilst we're away before me and Blank get back home, and regular content will resume. The classic stuff's all going to be coming. A lot of big ideas for new videos that are going to be following up on the channel soon as well. So if you like Dead Air content, you enjoy the way we talk about the game, the stuff that Daisy shows off, the things all 3 of us here at Dead Air are doing, you're in for a treat. There's a lot more that we're up to, a lot of things happening. It's a good time to like Deadlock. I think that's just the top and bottom of it.
Pretty much.
When has there ever been a bad time to like Deadlock, Blank? The answer is there hasn't.
Maybe like 2 weeks or so in total.
Yeah, there's been a couple patches.
Probably like 2 weeks.
There's been a couple patches, but we can forget those.
We can forget about that. Yeah. Other than that, Deadlock's been amazing. Yeah.
All in the past now. Yeah. But yeah, there you go, everyone. That's another episode of Dead Air's podcast. The Dead Air podcast.
The Dead Air podcast. Yeah. The one and only.
However you want to say it. Always on time. Perfectly came out on Saturday as usual.
You're just seeing it late, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it? Come on. You would have had the plane story and then some analogies of us playing Deadlock games on really high ping. So, you've done better that we delayed it. We got a patch. We've kind of nailed it.
Yeah. We saw a few days, a bit longer than that, but yeah, it's good. It's good. Yeah. We timed it well.
There you go. Hope you enjoyed this.
Gaslighting, just thinking this is the perfect time to run the podcast. I'm so sorry. But yeah, no, I've had fun. We'll hopefully do a couple more of these whilst we're here.
Yeah, maybe we'll try a different setup, use a different ironing board.
Yeah.
See what other rooms we can use.
See if we can tape ourselves to the ceiling maybe somehow. That could be fun.
Oh,
pretend we're stood up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's some ideas there. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you've enjoyed it. Bit of a different setup. Might even be the first time you've seen us do a live podcast for some of the viewers, because obviously that one was a while ago, and ever since then they've all been online, which is kind of mad actually.
Yeah.
But yeah. Crazy. Once we get the dead air towers, dead air office.
There could be towers to start.
Dead air towers, yeah.
Dead air towers that's maybe
700 floors.
That's a long-term prospect, but yeah, maybe like the
with literally nothing in.
Yeah, maybe the dead air
basement.
Dead air basement. Dead air cardboard box, large cardboard box, obviously.
Room for 3 of us is all we need.
Yeah, pretty much.
Me, you, Daisy. Well, me, you, Daisy. Couple cats.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah,
that's all we need.
Well, we'll sort that out.
We're done.
Yeah, we'll arrange that.
Yeah, cool.
So there you go. All right, more content coming soon. We'll let you know with some of the other stuff we've been cooking up in the next one. We'll probably record that this weekend, and that one might be on time.
Yeah,
like they all are.
Indeed. All right.
See you later. Bye then.
Bye. Bye then.
Bye.
See ya. Bye. Bye.
No, bye.
Bye.
you can go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they go.
Okay. Yeah. Water.